Hi everyone, this is the Blue Couch podcast where we dive into the intersection between energy, technology, and how it affects and impacts our day-to-day lives. My name is Folakemi Ajayi and I'm here with my co-host David. David, say hi.
Hi everyone, I'm David Adebi. I'm the co-host of the Blue Couch podcast.
So this is our first episode, and in this episode today, we'll be telling you what PowerLabs is, who we are, and why we are doing this here at PowerLabs. So we are going straight into the gist of the day. David, can you do a brief introduction of PowerLabs and the team generally? Just tell us, what does PowerLabs do, what are we about, and what is the team about?
Okay, I will start with PowerLabs first.
Okay.
So, what is PowerLabs? PowerLabs exists for a reason, and the fundamental reason is the fact that we believe energy abundance can coexist with energy sustainability. So, we felt people have relegated electricity to being something that is, boring, right? And, in the idea of dependencies in modern societies, there are things that society needs to be called a civilized society. We are not living like our great grandfathers.
Yes,
we're not living like our ancestors from the past, right? And modern society, one of the most fundamental dependencies is really electricity. Everybody likes to point out the latest shiny technology, but the truth is those technology still depend on electricity. Obviously, at a time, everybody can point out something out. Everything depends on one thing, everything depends on one thing. But generally speaking, right? Yeah, obviously, electricity to make it to, you need to mine, you need to do, right? But as a technology, you can't have like a modern society without electricity.
Yes.
If you stop if you ban AI, people will still exist, people will still live their lives, they'll still be healthy, get educated.
Yes.
If you stop people from generating electricity, I can assure you that you're not going to have 8 billion people in the on the earth in 20 years, right? Because a lot of the way we live relies on that technology. So it's a fundamental technology, and it has not been, should I say, updated for a very long time. And so they say the main thesis is we are looking at that technology, that this technology that is fundamental to existing, that is also fundamental to human development, not even just human development generally. You cannot have, so without electricity, people cannot thrive, they cannot, and it's even linked to GDP. We can see electricity, how much per capita electricity usage is linked to the per capita income. So the societies that use more electricity are richer than those that don't use electricity. So, and that is like a fact. And at the same time, it's fact that there is climate change. Right? It's also fact that we need to use more electricity for the way we are choosing to live as modern humans. So we are now looking at that fundamental dependency that people are ignoring. Right? I'm sure maybe you've seen a meme. There's this meme or like this picture that shows maybe an infrastructure, and there's one small part, a cog in the wheel that you'll see something like the entire internet, a geek in one American town that has like one library that is holding the entire internet, and that's for a fact, that's the truth. So some weeks ago, the world we escaped a particular 0-day exploit in software, just because most of the modern servers use a particular, particular software that was exploited. So that's the technology that we built today are so interwoven, they are so together. So PowerLabs' thesis is that this fundamental technology, we need to look at it again. We need to bring it to the 21st century.
Yeah, true that.
So that is the reason, that is why PowerLab that is what PowerLab is doing. What we are doing is we are now building software, hardware, whatever, algorithms or whatever part of the tech stack to upgrade electricity to make it a more modern technology. Right. And also when
So that was you saying that the whole thing has not been updated. So PowerLabs is
we are here to make electricity a first class citizen of the modern world. Our life depends on it.
Yeah.
It's a codependency, right? And also it's correlated to wealth, it's correlated to a lot of things that we really require. And being from sub-Saharan Africa, right? And we have all these countries in this part in the global south that are maybe not as productive or not as rich as the world, obviously the other countries, and we're like, we need to catch up.
Yeah.
And we need to catch up in a manner that is also safe for the earth. So that means we need to we need to rethink how we generate, distribute, how we transmit electricity, how people like the entire
consume.
Yeah, exactly. The entire stakeholders, everyone. We need to just bring it to the new century or the new world. So electricity is no longer one boring thing that old guys 200 years ago came up with, because the technology has not really changed per se. When I say the fundamentals, so when you layer things on top of that things, but the physics is still as big consistent. So when you see countries like Nigeria, where production figures, you look at it and you basically become very sad. That you see 3,000 megawatts, you see 4,000 megawatts, and you have data centers in the US that is doing almost 1,000 megawatts.
Crazy.
So you have cluster of data centers doing 5,000 megawatts. So basically, one data center in the US is Nigeria's a quarter of Nigeria's capacity. So it's basic, like it shows you that we need to tell ourselves the truth about what technology we should be building, right? And I don't know, maybe I want to just reiterate why it is important, why electricity is important. You remember some weeks ago, or maybe last month, when there was a cut on the fiber,
the underway.
And you saw how that disrupted economic activities. And you've seen how many times the grid has collapsed in Nigeria, and how it disrupts, and how it makes power very expensive too. It's fundamental. We cannot do anything. Our healthcare is linked to it. Our well-being, mental well-being, everything is linked to it. And we are now tackling that challenge. So that is, PowerLabs is a company that has decided to say electricity is not a solved problem. It's a problem that we keep solving, we keep updating, we keep coming up with better ways of doing things, right? That is PowerLabs. Why we exist has been answered in some ways earlier, like why are we doing this? We would have been doing something else, but we are doing this because we are from the global south. And while our team is very experienced all over the world, like they have experience across multiple countries, they've built things that they've built in very amazing and interesting things. We have people working like that have worked in big tech, right? Worked in energy, oil and gas, renewables. So there's a lot of experience in terms of should I say technical capabilities. The question now is, what problem should you be solving with this experience and this, should I say, talent density you have? We feel so. You see, I read something yesterday and it's interesting. So I'm on Twitter. So I like Twitter a lot.
I do too.
Yeah. So I like it a lot, not because I tweet a lot, but just because there's a way it has broken that, should I say, barrier between societies. So, for example, I saw a tweet about someone giving recommendations for textbooks for people that are interested in high frequency trading.
Nice.
There's quants in New York and the rest. and some very deep math textbooks, right? So you can see that the talent density of people that work in these roles in doing HFT, they are very smart people. Many of them have physics PhDs, right?
Hold on, what is the meaning of HFT?
High frequency trading.
Okay.
So these people use algorithms to trade commodities, to trade equity very fast. Yeah, very so they do it in where time is a critical factor. Is that algorithms are doing this thing. So a fraction of a second could mean $1 billion of loss or profit, right?
Crazy.
Yeah, so that's how the world runs. It's interesting for the people that are doing it. But the question is, you have all this talent that actually studied physics, studied theoretical physics, studied number theory, maths, and the rest. These people should be solving problems that really affect humanity. It's not creating. I'm not saying what they are doing is wrong. I'm just saying the allocation of talents. You get what I mean? The allocation of talent has not been the should I say, it has not been totally beneficial for humanity at large, right?
Okay.
So now there's this common saying, this cliche saying where people say, oh, the best talents in my generation are trying to making people click ads, right? And generation ago, people are coming up with new materials. People came up with fusion. People came up with nuclear technology. Came up with even transistors that underlie everything that we are doing right now when it comes to electronics and communications tech. But you look at this generation, it seems some of those fundamental technology has really slowed down. People just care about exploiting one simple thing and just make a lot of billions from it. Sad. So when we have this amount of talent density, there are fundamental problems that has to be solved in Nigeria. If you want to say you want to solve this, you want to do the latest fintech, the latest version of a fintech, which these things are important. I'm not saying they're not important. But the fundamental problem is, how do you make people, how do you create that energy equity, right? How do you look at, how do you create that energy equity? How do you solve some of the energy challenges we have today? And how do we solve some of the energy challenges we are going to have in the future? And this even goes past the global south. This goes in the entire world. We are right, this is a new era. Right, this is an era of electric vehicles. This is an era of very, should I say, a lot of very funny climate events are just happening that can disrupt things that are not meant to be disrupted. Right, so we need to be nimble. We need to be fast. We need to apply 21st century tech to these things that we rely on, but we've not looked at since. Right, so the team decided that, okay, let's use our talents for this very important problem. It's not the most glamorous problem, but it's probably one of the most important technological problems you can solve. Right.
Amazing. I mean, my head is already full with the information I've received from you. Okay, so PowerLabs has the team collocated in Nigeria and across the US. Is there a specific reason for this?
Okay, so back to what I was saying about talent density. The smartest people doesn't necessarily stay in the same place.
Yeah,
right? And the situation of things where higher education, better job opportunities, and family reasons will make people migrate away, right? But instead of now making that to be that's a reason for us not to do something, we are able to use that as a strength. So people are coming with different perspectives, different experience they've gotten from different places they've worked, right? So, and we are solving a global problem also, right? We're not just solving a problem for a pocket in Nigeria or something. We are solving a global problem. There are power cuts in the US. They are trying to, you listen to all the major tech CEOs. In fact, I was listening to Zuckerberg, and he was talking about one of the things that will slow down AI adoption is really electricity.
Interesting.
You cannot build enough data centers. You need to serve. You need to be able to serve these models, and these things require massive amounts of electricity. So that's like a big on the grid. So that people are looking at things where they could even co-locate generating stations with data centers. I think so. So I think a company has done something similar. Maybe Amazon. I'll check that later on. But people are looking at scenarios where you have small nuclear reactors that are built co-located with a data center. So basically, the customer is there beside you. So it's not as if you are doing a lot of transmission. You're creating the energy, they're buying it directly. And it's going to increase because the more people start using all these generative AI tools and everything, that means more models. More models mean more, should I say, more servers, more data centers. That means more electricity. And you still have that with people come like we are trying to electrify everything. Where we have people cook with electricity now. People eat their building like they eat their buildings with electricity in the West. In over a year, we see that air conditioning takes a huge amount, right? So the problem are not they're not like only localized to just Nigeria, right? Global South, we have some of our challenges are peculiar to us, but the problem of electricity is really a global problem. So it makes sense to have people that have experiences, different experiences, different insights to the matter, and it just makes it so it's just diversity of experience. I would say, diversity is not about only your phenotype. It's also how you look at problems, how you solve stuff. So I think it's a strength for us having people from multiple parts of the world. We have people like in the US, in Europe, and in Lagos. And hopefully, maybe it could be probably more than that in the future.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. Okay, every great company has a story why they were found, right?
Yeah.
Can you take us back to the foundation, like what made the founding of PowerLabs possible? Like, what exactly was the story behind the formation of PowerLabs?
Okay, I would. That's a good question. I would say go back to like maybe last year, or let me say earlier than that.
Okay.
So the thing is, you can be solving a problem in your silo, or you've solved the problem for years, you've given up, you've gone back to it, or whatever. But sometimes you need what should I say, an organizer that is able to like now say, let's give this problem another shot with fresh eyes.
Okay.
Right. And when I say this problem, I need to mention the fact that different people in the team have been solving the different aspects of the problem.
Interesting.
You understand? Different aspects of the problems. Right. It's a very talent-dense team where, for example, I have worked in metering before.
Okay.
IoT infrastructure for metering for electricity, for gas, and the rest like that. We have people that have worked in oil and gas. We have people that have worked in solar installations, and so people are working in different silos. And for the first time, we started like
of the same industry.
It's still the electricity or energy industry, right? But for the first time now, like there's a big problem. There's a big problem, right? Rather than trying to solve it, should I say, piecemeal. So people like, the best way to solve it is just bring solar to Nigeria, panels. But we are now like, so I think Toby is CEO, right? I think before we start like saying this is the problem we're going to solve, the first problem is to form a team. And that is the genesis, right? Before we decide that this is, the problem we are solving is like an attack angle, right? You have like a match, or they are playing, or don't let me use too much sport analogies. But
Don't worry, even if you do that, you can still break it down. So.
Okay, so you have like an attack angle to solve a problem. Like, okay, this is a big problem, but there should be a way to penetrate that problem and solve it. But the first thing is to get your tools.
Yeah.
You need the right tools.
Yeah.
I don't want to say humans are tools, but the idea is you need the right people.
Yeah.
And you now get people across like, oh, this problem, I've tried to solve it in this way, you have tried to solve it in this way. Why don't we come together and try to solve it with all our talents together? So yeah, so that's how I got to meet Toby some time ago, maybe like 2 years or 3. It'd be long, I can't remember to be the exact time. But he was having that conversation with multiple people that we became. So we met ourselves and like we found that like, yeah, for some reason, I'll say the core team, right? Just to be fair, when you do that kind of stuff, right, you're going to get maybe a lot of no's, but I would say, I don't know, maybe skipping stats, right? But I would say, even if you have 1 or 2 holdouts or maybe it didn't work well, but generally it was very effective. And, in a way it was like, I would say there was providence involved, that you have multiple people that would probably be doing other things, right? And they agreed to like, give this a shot. And they saw a reason why maybe it makes sense to work together than to work in silos.
Interesting. I mean, like from what you said, I can literally imagine the massive brains behind this. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, I would always say, like Nonso says, one of our co-founders, the PowerLabs is talent dense.
Yeah, I can see that as well. That would take me to PowerLabs has a very bold vision and mission, as I think.
Yeah.
And which is unlocking the power of energy intelligence, that is energy technology, like I said, the intersection of energy technology and how it impacts our day-to-day lives. What will you say are like the specific goals that PowerLabs is currently working on?
For example,
towards,
if you live in Nigeria, you are not a stranger to power cuts, power, this unreliability of the grid is a major challenge.
Collapse.
Right? Collapsing left, right, and center, So that's like one of like the attack angle I was speaking about. We took that as a challenge and saying we are going to characterize the grid, we are going to predict outages for people. For some people, it's a live or it's very important to have. And to be clear, outages are different from outages. There are some outages that they're like fat tail events. They are hard to, someone can, maybe something snapped and cut. It's hard to predict in your transformer. But there are some outages that even just getting the patterns alone of your usage, nobody gets 24 hours in Nigeria.
Of course.
If you get 24 hours for a week, there will be one day where they will take it. You understand? But there are patterns to these things. There's always a method to madness. So, our work has been to find that method. So to find that method from first principles. So we've characterized the grid by collecting data from the grid and being able to see these patterns. And it's actually useful to people, where people can, like one of the core things about PowerLabs is about making people more productive.
Yeah.
And when you see that you have a shop, for example, you're selling something in a shop, you go to your shop between 8 a.m. to say 6 p.m. every day. And maybe the amount you're spending on electricity, on generator, because people have alternative power sources. You're able to plan ahead. You're able to see what your patterns look like. You're able to make budgets like, okay, this is the amount I'm expecting this month. This is fairly the amount I'm expecting from NEPA this month. So maybe I can survive just with 200 liters of diesel.
Okay.
Right? You're able to make plans. That's the difference between you and maybe someone that does not have that data to be able to make plans. So we are really marrying data together. Like there's a problem, right? We look at that problem, we get data from that problem. We are not leaving that data and just showing that this thing. Most people just have, they slap a dashboard together, give it to people.
Yeah, true.
our own idea, our core idea is you do something intelligent to that data that now allows you, the user, to make a decision. So you have made the data actionable.
Yeah.
It's just like I see the data, I have not done anything to it. It's useless. It's just waste of space. But when there's an action that should be made, I see the data based on this, I can estimate something. I estimate the amount of fuel I'm going to use. I make an action to buy that fuel. We've not just like, I'm just showing you the amount of, like I just showed you, this is the total amount that you have. This is the whatever. You see all these fancy dashboards that you see, very colorful, very nice, well done.
Okay, and so like after seeing it,
Exactly, that's it. And so I've seen it, but how do you? There's that valley that, or should I say, you're at that valley. You need to climb that hill, right? You need to climb it and get to the other side and say, what do you do? What's the actionable? What are the actions you took from? So we really care about people taking actions, and we even measuring how those actions are impacting things. So we really care about that than just a vanity thing of just showing people data without nothing happening. Right. Yeah. So, yeah.
You talking about that now brings me to the question of PowerLab has an awareness product called Pi.
Okay.
I want you to give us the overview because from I can hear from what you were saying about data and everything. So I just want you to give us an overview of what Pi is.
Okay. For everyone, Pi is I would say, your Power Copilot. And when we say Power Copilot, it means, I know people use that term a lot now, with this generative AI thing, everybody has a copilot. But when we say copilot, we mean, I was talking about actionable insights and things. We want to make a decision. So we are trying to build something that is just going to be like with you to help you, guide you through those process end to end. Right. At the moment, maybe it's not up to that, you're not going to that level yet, but that's the destination where you just have like a one-stop, should I say, application or whatever you want to call it, right? And it helps you like from you consuming that power to you paying for that power, for you checking how much you've used, if you care a lot about the environment, how much dirty fuel are you using, whatever, right? So you need something to help you, because most times people use multiple applications, they have all these different applications, they have all these even some of the energy management applications that they have are kind of very I would say they are complicated for the average individual. The layman or the layperson, they are complicated. So we built something where there's a problem. The problem is there's an unreliable grid. It is reducing the productivity of people, especially for businesses. Right, we saw that as a challenge, and we started like getting that data about the grid and being able to like make predictions, being able to show people their availability patterns, right? And we package that into one of our products called Pi, that now allows you to see your data and make decisions that would increase your productivity based on that data. So Pi is that stuff. Underlying Pi are all the interesting things that's maybe so all these interesting things that technical people would like are inside Pi. But I'm just giving you the overview of what Pi really does for the individual. Right? Pi, there are all machine learning, whatever, IoT, all those things are inside. Those are the things we made use of to be able to create that application.
Interesting. So is there a specific reason why PowerLabs decided to start with a product like Pi?
Yeah, so sometimes you just have like a problem that is staring you at the face. Right? Some some problems they will announce themselves, or some will come, they'll sneak. There are some they don't sneak. It's just when
They just come at you.
when you just land at that Muritala Mohammed, you can be there and they take lights.
Oh my god.
Do you understand?
No time for you to breathe.
You just take lights. You just like, what's happening here? You start to understanding that, okay, oh, you're in NG.
This is the reality.
This is NG. This is Nigeria. This is not, you understand? Now, so some problems just scream at you. And to be honest, and those problems, like when you now look around, you see it's quite important. Like, because when I know I'm really rehashing the talk about productivity, you see how that particular problem really makes life difficult for people.
Yeah.
Right. And technology should make life easier for people.
Yeah. True.
Right. So we just looked at it and say, you know, there are a lot of things we could have started with, but this is a problem that affects all Nigerians, not just a segment of Nigerians.
Yes.
Right. Even if you are a rich person, if probably still, even rich people, you see the way they are trying to jump away from band A and to another band, you know. So people are looking at how do we turn off ACs, how do we, you know. So, and people are like, the grid collapse, you go to Twitter, everybody is complaining, my grid has collapsed, my food has gotten bad, this one, that one, you know.
But I remember when I had that experience too. I mean, prior to the grid collapsing, I'd gone to the market and stocked my freezer. Like, God, I think it was like the next day or 2 days after that I saw the announcement that grid. I was fed up. How do I handle all these things in my freezer? So it was really crazy. People were complaining a lot.
You see how that can really diminish someone's quality of life, right? That's singular problem. And, you know, like, I believe just being able to understand the problem is the first step to solving that problem. We knowing that the grid has collapsed, we being able to report it, you being able to predict it. The hard parts will still be done. There are some parts that has to do with financing, like basically rebuilding some of these, should I say, good components, right? But you would not even know if you don't have data about it. You know what I mean? So there has to be like this, we are like shining lights to a part that is dark. And that's, they can use it, you know, if good collapses making everywhere dark. But I mean, the data too, there's no light about that data. We want to make it visible. You want to make people being able to see that, okay. So to be honest, this is 2024. And we actually have built up, like, to have that kind of ability, you have to go and build expensive SCADA and give these multinational companies a lot of money, right? And we are in a couple of months, we're able to like prototype something that basically replicates that, right? We're able to characterize the grid and see what's the status is at the moment, right? And if there are issues, you are able to see. So imagine, like, while we were building Pi, the first version, the initial first version, we are using like a should I say, a co-working space. So I just went outside the small office cubicle or whatever to just get fresh air, and someone else, another company that was co-located in the place, the lady just came out, was calling someone to ask about Sheila ID. So that's pidgin for is there light at home? Is there power at home? She was trying to get the information. And I was just laughing. And in my head, I was like, we've actually built this thing. Like, basically, you could just search, and we built something that could make you see what the status of your grade is at that moment. And I was laughing at, and actually that's like thing. People want to make plans, they call.
There's a serious need for it.
You know, they call that, is there lights? That kind of stuff. That's just a simple, that's like the simplest part. Like, you know, if you have like an iceberg, and that's just the tip that you're saying, there's a lot of massive goodies underneath. Right? Just being able to see that you know what your current status, you have electricity or not, how much electricity have you had in the past couple of weeks, past couple of days, like you can see the patterns, right? And if they, for example, if they are scheduled shutdowns, you can actually even notice those things. And so the need just shouted at us. We need to solve this. We need to gather data first before you start building maybe hardware. So if there's lack of data, you're just doing nonsense. So and which data do we get first? So we start collecting data. Let me go a bit technical. To collect data and say you want to start training models or whatever with that data, I think the grid was the obvious choice for anyone that knows what you're doing, because the grid is basically the same all over the country, right? And when I say the same, what I mean is if you want to start collecting generator data, it's a bit more complex. Which is I will not like Pi evolves. It's going to evolve shortly to that level, but you start with the grid first. Then you start moving into multiple sources, because multiple sources have their different, should I say, idiosyncrasies, right? So we have to start with the grid, and the grid is the biggest. It's the elephant in the room, right? It's the elephant in the room. It affects generator. If you have money, you have a generator. Some people don't have generator; they have only the grid, right? So not everybody has inverters or all these other storage that people have. So they only rely on the grid. So it's one problem that affects the entire, should I say, socio-economic classes in Nigeria. And I think it's a worthwhile problem. It's an important problem to solve. You solve a problem that has bigger impact.
True. You were talking about data, about Pi gathering data. How does this happen? Like, how does it get the data? Is there like a supporting device or something that helps it to get the data?
Yeah, so like I said, PowerLabs is a talent-dense startup, and we have hardware, IoT, software, machine learning capabilities. So we have a very brilliant hardware team, and so they quickly built a sensor that gathers the data and sends that data to our servers, and that's where we now do analysis and every other thing on that data. So we have these very, very simple, inexpensive sensors that we've built. And in the future, we'll look at other ways of even acquiring the data without really installing our own sensors here. But yeah, we built a sensor prototype and we installed across multiple locations.
Amazing. Thank you so much, David. I mean, like, I have literally learned more today, and I'm blown by your mind, and I see the way your eyes light up when you talk about energy and everything. It's very interesting to see. Thank you so much. I hope you have learned as much as I did, though, because David has really, said a lot today. This is our first episode, like we told you earlier, and if you were opportune to listen to the end, we are very grateful. Thank you so much. We are very, very, very grateful. So we hope that you would listen to our next episode. We have so many things in store for this podcast. We have discussions regarding the different challenges and emerging solutions in energy, and we have different tips and so many things that we're talking about, the grid, what's the current things that are happening in Nigeria, in the world. We just want you to make sure that you follow us on our social media, PowerLabs HQ, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter. Follow us, and also make sure you subscribe to this podcast. See you at the next episode. Bye.